We hope that everybody are healthy and also safe in these days. Uh, we hope to better days soon to see some good news coming. Um, okay, so in this session, as Scott says, we are focusing on discovery. We had previous session on December led by Shahar Cohen, my colleague, who is managing the delivery side of the operation, responsible for the KBs, SFX, Alma, and 360 content. And in this session, we will go into the discovery side of the operations, which means CDI content. So for those who haven't participated in the previous session and also for general uh, uh, understanding and to bring us together to this session, I really want to move quickly on some slides that actually were presented in Shahar's session, but are doing really good job in explaining and taking us to this session subject. So we are part of the content operations group here in Exlibris, okay? And in the middle, you can see the operation group, which is has the discovery operations, which is my group, the delivery operations, and the research operations. As I said before, discovery, we're responsible for CDI content, delivery for the KBs, SFX, ALMA, and 360, and the research operations are not part of this area, and they are actually handling the research and the funding opportunities, which are part of other products by Exlibris, ProQuest, Clarivate. Okay, so working with us are the provider relations team. Okay, they are the team that are actually talking day after day with our providers. We have many providers, as you know, more than 3,000, and they talk to them, they meet with them, they make sure that we all work together and aligned. We also have the content support teams, which who actually help you, the customers, in all the cases and the problems that you encounter and questions that you have. And this is happening through Salesforce and the tier structure, as you may be aware of. And this is the content support. And we also have the development team and the product management, Rail, who leads us all to where we need to go. So this is the group, and another like high level process or flow that I want to talk about briefly before we dive in is the content ingestion process. Okay, because basically, even if you talk about delivery side, discovery side, okay, the work is more or less the same in the manner that we actually, when we start and we want to have the new content, first we start from the left in the green circle with the request received. Is of course we can get this request from the community, from specific customers, or from the provider. Okay, and this is something that we are prioritizing. REL, after product management, they are prioritizing this to really have the most impact on the community and what the community needs. And with this, to see also the needs of the specific regions, the specific customers, because we know that we do have small customers with unique content that we also need to take care of. Then we engage with the provider to obtain the content, and we are starting to talk to understand what they have to offer, how they're going to deliver it to us, and so on. We sign an agreement, and then when we actually starting the work, this is where the operations coming to play. If it's on delivery side, if it's discovery side, we are ingesting the content, harvesting, ingesting the content, and we're setting up the automatic updates to make sure that this content will stay current and updated going forward. And even after the release, we are continuing with our ongoing support by the support teams, and also when it needs, the operations also are, you can say, are part of the support. And when there is a collection level issue or anything that needs to get us, we're chiming in and we're solving the customer's problems. So three sessions that we had last year and are actually can be a good additions to this is the first one is the end-to-end user experience that we explain how our products are used by the end users. Provider relations session on from September to understand more what this team does. And as I mentioned before, Shahar's a session from December talking about the content operation from the delivery side, the KB side. So we talked about the group, the content operations group, and now let's dive in a little bit into the operations that actually take care of the knowledge bases and the index. And to explain more, we need to maybe we talked about it several times, but it's always good to talk about it again. It's the difference and the why we actually have three knowledge bases on the delivery side and one index, which is CDI. So the knowledge bases are where they are the content, and they're providing the content for the backend tools, backend UIs, where the librarians actually they manage their electronic resources. Okay, we know that in Xlibris we work with the triangle of providers, customers, or libraries, and Xlibris. Okay, the customers are purchasing their content from the providers. We're not involved in this process, but after they have purchased what they want, they can go to their librarians resource management tool, if it will be Alma, if it will be Client Center, if it will be SFX, and actually activate what they have purchased in order for us, Xlibris, to know it and be able to reflect this in the products and into the user experience. Okay, we want the end game here is for end users to search what they need, to see what they need as full text available, to click on it and go to read the full text on the providers platforms, providers websites. This is the end game, and all what we do is to support this simple simple scenario, simple task of the end user. So as we said, in the KB's area, we have the collection and title level metadata. Okay, we want in the KB to represent all the providers offering. Okay, if a provider is selling a new collection, we need it to be present in the KB, so the librarians will be able to activate it. And under or below the collection level, or in addition to it, we also have the title level metadata. You know, the provider are providing us with title lists for each collection when it's applicable, and you can see this title levels metadata on the KB. In Alma, you will also be able to see the full MARC records into the level of enrichment they have. And in other, in the SFX and 360, you will see a narrower entity, or the title will not have all the full metadata, but it will be enough for the librarian to do this activation. When I say title level, I mean if it's a journal, okay, so it's science, this is one title level. And if it's a book, okay, it's the title is the book title. And when we talk about the article level metadata, here we goes to CDI. In the KBs, we also need to remember that they act as link resolvers, okay, which means that after the end user did see what they want and clicked on it, the link resolver in some cases may kick on and actually create the link to the provider's websites. Okay, and when we talk about formats that we have, we talk mainly about KBART and MARC records for 360 and Alma. Now in CDI, the content is not touchable from you don't have backend to actually see the content of CDI. The content of CDI goes directly to the Primo or Salmon UI. Okay, and as we explained before, this is on article level metadata. So if we have one entity, one title on the KB for science in the CDI, we will have the thousand and thousand of articles published in science during all the years. And this also the reason for the numbers here when we see that 70 million versus 4.7 billion records. This is what happens when you go from the title level into the article level, and of course book chapter level when we have. The records in CDI are rich, okay, because we want them to be discoverable and optimized for keyword search. They need to come, and they need to show when the end user, our end user, is searching by subject, by keyword on their Salmon/Primo UI. So we have rich record with authors, subjects, abstract. We also index many times the full text itself to optimize the discoverability of the record, of the content. For Salmon customers, CDI is also part of the solution for Salmon customers where they have, when Salmon customers, as you know, they are actually cataloging and using different ILSs, maybe ProQuest ILSs like Alma, like Voyager, maybe external, and they don't publish their catalogs directly to the UI, but it goes through CDI. So my team is also responsible for the maintenance of a few thousand of Salmon customers that we have. And when we talk about formats, we actually use mostly with XMLs in different types. I will explain a little bit more later, and of course with Mark. So here we understand why we have two teams, why we have two flows, two feeds from the provider, because we're talking about two products, two databases on different levels, which actually, and in most cases, they actually serve different purposes. Different purposes, of course, that coming together and they needed together. One cannot stand alone without the other. I mean, together they actually create the solution, the holistic solution of searching and seeing the full text according to the library subscription. A small slide just to show a little bit in diagram what we had before is that, and actually also put the providers in. So the providers from their side, they need to send, and they are sending when they need several feeds, because the KBART or the mark, they will be processed by the KBs, as to explain. The mark is also accessible, and we can also in CDI ingest it to create rich records. And in many cases, and the provider, if they have, they will also send us feed with article level, which we will ingest into CDI. So in this slide, I want to dive into a little bit more into the index and to understand what is the content that we have in the index. So first, we can talk about the numbers, which tell the story of when we mentioned before the 4.7 billion metadata records, and we have more or less 8% yearly growing rate. So the index is increasing day by day. We have more than 11,000 KB collections that have coverage in CDI. And we need to remember that for librarians to access and to say what they want to see in CDI, in the world of single activation now in CDI and also on Salmon solution, this is done through the KB. So when we talk about more than 11,000 KB collections that have coverage in CDI, we mean that for more than 11,000 products or content products that are available for you customers to purchase from the providers and to activate in the KB, we offer article level coverage in CDI. Okay, so if you will activate this collection in Alma, the end user will be able to see all the article records in CDI in the UI, Primo or Summon. We have more than almost 300 million open access records. Okay, and we work with more than 3,000 content providers, and we have 9 quick links providers. Actually, I need to update this number to 10, I believe, as of today. And quick links are the new feature, the new solution that we offer to be able to link to the full text directly from the brief view of the results. Okay. Um, we believe that this feature, this link is, I think, and we hear from the customers that use it, that this is a really game changer for the end users. In one click, if it's a PDF, they get to the PDF, and they don't need to click through many clicks to in the provider's website. And one of the big advantages here, and that we work hard to maintain, is the accuracy and the quality of the links. We will not show the quick link unless we are certain as much as we can that it will work. And we're doing automatic checks all the time, day by day, on the quick links that are released to make sure that we don't have any problem. And so this feature, the easiness of use, okay, for the end user, and the high quality of the quick links, I think together they really make it a really good solution, a great solution for you. And I really suggest, recommend for customers who didn't try it out yet to try it even in Sandbox at first to check it out. So now let's go to the right session of right side of the screen and actually understand more what content we have. And I'm not talking here only about content types, but I really want to explain about the sources that we actually harvest and ingest into CDI. So the publisher's content is, of course, the most important, is the core of CDI. It's what we all want to see, and it's the academic content that we all purchase as providers, and this is what we need for research. And the publisher's content. So we need to understand that publishers is a big word, and under this title we have publishers, very big publishers that have the ability and the resources to provide us with really a best of class cataloging, okay, rich records, and that we are really happy to ingest into CDI. But we also have small publishers, okay, that may not be able to provide this level of quality all the time, but their content is important, is unique, is needed by our customers, and so we are doing our best to ingest and to improve, but to ingest what we can, um, knowing that and this is needed by our customers. Aggregators are also really important for our customers, as they actually enable you, the customers, to manage your subscription more easily, to get access to more content without really paying to many publishers, small publishers. The aggregator content is important, but also it has its challenges, because we need to understand that when we talk about aggregators, they're collecting and they're getting their content from all these publishers, and they need to migrate it or to translate it or to turn it into their content. And in this process, okay, in this step from the publisher to the aggregator, sometimes changes might happen to the metadata, okay? And the aggregators, they have in most cases they have one schema, they have one set of records, and the records need to fit into it. So also we have aggregators that are doing more cataloging and work on their records, and we have aggregators that are mostly delivering what they got. And this is another issue here, is really the responsibility, where the aggregators are not always able to fix and to be full responsible for the content as they receive it from a third party or from the publishers to their repository, and then we get it from them. ANI content, of course, this is one of the key. I'm sorry. This is one also very really important portion. In the ANI content, also we have the same challenges of the aggregators, where they collect data from various sources, and some providers are investing more resources on improving the metadata, and some less. And of course, we need to take this data and make it the best we can. Open access repositories, and I'm talking about the big, the non-profit organizations and the initiatives like DOAJ and so on. They're doing amazing work and super important work in creating and making the content accessible to all. And we all know how much important is it in our days. But with this, we have here we also might have here the challenge of quality when they actually create data from various sources, and the open access might be in open access content may be in various levels of quality. Institutional repositories are, you can say, what our customers contribute to the community. In many cases, the institutional repository will be, it might be private, only for the for the institution who manage it, and they want to see it in their UI alongside their catalog. But in many cases, they actually add it and ask to make it public for the benefit of all CDI users. Also, under this portion title, we have many types. Okay, library can create an institutional repository for the output of their research. Okay, so it might be articles that their professors and labs and students have published, and it might be the dissertation and thesis that the graduates have wrote, and they have them digitize them, or they have the files, and they actually expose it on the website. And it's also be a repository of some unique collection they hold, if it's art collection, if it's music, if it's archival material that they want to share within the community. So this is the institutional repositories. And of course, as I said before, the catalogs and libguides for some customers are a really important part of CDI. Primo customers are not able to see them, and they're not so much affected by this content. But for some customers, this is super important, as it is the library catalog. So special attention, of course, is given to this part of the index. So we see here that we actually have various sources coming and creating this one CDI index. And I will explain a bit more why, I mean, the challenges that we have here, and also the opportunities and why we need it. Before this, let's go through the content flow, okay? And this will serve us as an index, as like some guidelines to for the next slide, and we will actually dive in and focus in each one of the steps here to understand more about what we do when we ingest a new content. So the first step is the sample review, sample analysis, the sample review, when we need to understand if the content we want to ingest is suitable to be in CDI. We need to understand that, I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think that the discovery solutions and also the KB solutions were very focused on the core of the core part of research when you talk about academic journals. But now we all understand and that we want to give our students the vast and the most broad knowledge that we can give them. So the providers are actually know it, and they create these collections, and they're doing the digitization, and they creating these amazing collections that we all use. But this means that also on the KB side, but mostly on CDI side, we are not anymore in this safe area where we have articles with ISBN and TOIs and everything. Of course, this is the core, and it will be always stay the core of the research. But together with this, we have so many much more content. If it's newspaper content, if it's archival material, videos, audiovisual, standards, patents, and everything that we actually all want to expose to our users. So when we talk about suitability, so we have our guidelines, and of course, we will not ingest content which is really in low quality and will not serve our customers and our end users. But we do want to ingest content, even if it's not cataloged 100%, when it will give benefit to users. And we know that, for example, um, standards and patents, and sometimes also audiovisual material, cannot be cataloged into the same level of accuracy and richness that we have on articles through known formats, or of course books through MARC records. And this is one of the challenges, but also one of the opportunities here in CDI, because we want to expose this content in our products. We also need to make sure that the linking will work. As I said before, all we do here is as I see it, is really to support the end game when a user is searching, see relevant results that actually will help him in his research, and click and get with the linking, get to see the full text. Okay, and if we're not doing this click to full text, okay, so this is what we want to get. And if we have problems in this, so we're not doing it right. So this is something that's really important, that we want to make sure it will work from the beginning. And of course, the maintenance, okay, we need to make sure with the provider that they will be able to maintain the content, okay, if they're going to remove records from their platform, or if we're going to need to ask them to change some metadata elements. So they need to promise us that they are able to provide us with updates, with fixes. And of course, this needs to be automatic and not manual. The harvesting, I'll not explain here too much about how we harvest content. Of course, we support OAI, we use with FTPs, APIs, and many other methods. But also here, we need to make sure it will be maintained automatically. Okay, if a provider will tell us, hey, I will send you some email with the new content when I have it, we cannot work with this. Okay, we need it to be automatic and not manual. The data normalization part is the bread and butter of my team, and this is, I would say, also the most interesting part. When we actually take the data that we have received from the provider, we start with analysis. We try to understand what we have here. So if it's like XML, so we have our tools that will parse the XML and will show us which path, which content is it in XML. And then we need to start and map the content into the CDI schema. Okay, and here we actually writing a code, the spatial normalization rules that will work on each. It's customized per feed, per package, what we call per feed. And sometimes, I don't know, the journal's feed will work differently from the book feeds, because they're different and they need a spatial treatment, each one of them. And here we also need to see it from your eyes, from librarian eyes, and actually understand how we make the best of the content that we get. And I will explain more later. The linking configuration, as I explained, we need to configure the linking to be the most suitable linking for the content types and the subscription model. The quality assurance step, We do it before we release. Also here, we look on also on the metadata quality, but also on the configurations to make sure that everything is set and ready to run. And when we release the content, you will be able to see it on the UI, and we are updating the CDI release notes. So we want to focus a little bit on the data normalization, and we have several, you can see in this diagram, we are getting feeds in different formats, okay? So we can get it in Mark, we can get it in Onyx, we can get it in Dublin Core, we can get it in bits or jets, if it's articles or books with book chapters. But also we can get it in some XML that the provider or the content contributor has created by themselves, or it might be the output of the program of the database that they use to hold their metadata. And we need to work with what we get, okay? So of course, it's easier when the data is structured in really good format and rich format like bits and jets, or Mark for books. But also we have providers that give us articles cataloged in Mark. And for example, in Dublin Core, one can use the Dublin Core with all the element and really to get a really rich and deep cataloging. And one can really use the basic elements of Dublin Core to make a really thin record and send it to us. So with all of this, we need to work and create, you can see in right, the one CDI XML, which actually fit to our schema. So few things that are actually happening in this phase is, first, we configure the encoding and the record structure. This is really important because you need to understand, if I get an XML on 1,000 records, we need to understand where this record begins and when it ends, and actually to create the one record from this feed. For example, if I will have a feed that actually describes books and book chapters, and the book chapters will be part of the book XML, I need to know where the book chapters begin. I mean, when the data, where the data is starts or ends, or from which tags I need to pull out this metadata to create the book chapter record. For this, many times we can use also XSLTs and some other programs to create the XML that we need. And this happens before we even started to touch the records and do the mapping. Then we need to remove problematic metadata if we see any. So for example, I mean, we need to work with what we have, but we do as much as we can. So for example, if we will see that provider gives us, we look at all the subject of a certain feed and we see, okay, we have many years as a subject. Okay, this is not a good subject. We don't want to give it to our customers just year. So we're going to remove it and so on. We also improve metadata. If we have a way to do it, I don't know, for example, we need to capitalize the author names, or to make the is part of the issue, or the volume of the issue look correct, so it will work in the link resolver, or it will look good in the citation. So we need to improve the metadata when we can, and we map the metadata elements to the CDI schema. And here we do we work with with the content we have, and many times, you know, there is more than one solution for a problem. And for you who catalog, or know, are familiar with the cataloging world, you know that cataloging, we have many best practices, but not always one institution record will look the same as the other. So also in my team, one analyst will have, and I mean, the librarians and my analyst can take different decisions and have different judgment about things. And for this, we need to work together and actually review each other work, and I will explain about it later. So from all of this, we're actually building the CDI XML. This CDI XML is being loaded into CDI. So we have the XML, and we have the rules, And now we're going to load it. So the XML is actually running through the rules and being loaded, ingested into the index. And during this phase, a few things happen. One is the match and merge. The match and merge, as you know, is the process where we actually identify identical versions, or not, I mean, similar versions, or all the versions for the same record, for the same resource, and we match and merge them together. So you, as end users, will not see duplicates. You will not see the record appears twice or more, but you will see only one of each, one record, one result of each record. The match and merge rules are based on the metadata that we have in the record, okay? And of course, we need to be very, very cautious here with the rules, because we don't want also to merge different versions, or pairs or articles that are not the same. So for this, we need to be very, very cautious, and because if we will merge them, so we are making these articles not accessible at all. This is an automatic process that actually happens when the record is being ingested. We are also doing identifier match with the KB for the write processing. So we know that the writes are processed, the writes are relying on the identifiers. I mean, the KB and the CDI are talking, and we know to say for each record if it's full text available or not based on the activation on the KB, and the identifiers on the KB are those that we are checking when we take this decision. And when we load the record, we actually preparing the ground. We're doing some basic matches to make this work, to make this match easier and more accurate. So for example, in this match, we're relying also on the authorities that we have on the KBs to make sure that if a CDI record has the EISSN, but the KB has the ISSN, we will know when we do the rights processing that it is actually the same title. We also normalize the journal titles, okay, also based on the KB database. We don't want to see in the journal facet New York Times with capital N, and then New York Times without capital N, and so on. So for this, we actually normalizing them as much as we can. Important thing is the peer-reviewed indication that is coming directly from Ulrich. You know that Ulrich is part of ProQuest products, portfolio of products. And there always have been, but still there is an automatic process that takes the data from Ulrich, the indication per title from Ulrich, and we take this and we indicate on each record if it belongs to a peer-reviewed title, that it is peer-reviewed. It's seen on the brief, also in the full, and also we have a facet for peer-reviewed items. We plan in 2022 to check this process, because also here we have some rules that are created from cautiousness to make sure that we're not marking peer-reviewed for titles which are not. We're gonna review some of these rules this year, and I think it will improve the accuracy, and also you will be able to see more peer-reviewed items on your UI after we finish with this project. And of course, we index for search. Okay, we take the record and we actually index it to make sure that the keywords and also all the words in this record will cause this record to pop up when a customer is using or searching for one of these keywords. Rights and linking configuration. So after we did this and we loaded, we have the record ready, we need to understand per collection how we're going to do the rights and how we do the linking. And here we check. We need to check a few things. We need to check what is the subscription model, okay, to make sure that we can support it for the rights. If provider, a few examples, if provider will say us, yeah, customers can do some selectively purchase. Okay, they can cherry pick. They can purchase only part of what I sell. So if they did not have current good title list with identifier, this will not work. Okay, so this is the first thing. For example, when we talk about linking, we need to check how the linking will work and if they require authentication in the link. For example, that you're familiar with in eBook Central or in Gale, that the customers are asked to use their own the parameter authentication parameter they get from the pub provider and actually put it in the link in some table or on the collection, so we can put it in the link when we generate it. If yes, so we need to understand how it is working, and we need to prepare it. And we need to look at the metadata, and we need to understand if the metadata that we get actually supporting what the subscription and the linking. If the metadata does not have good identifiers, okay, so it will not work well with link resolver. If it's very, very unique, okay, so also here, there is no reason to create it as link resolver if there is a risk. And of course, we need, and in these cases, we're going to make the judgment and decide if it will be link resolver and link in record. Of course, this is more for Primo customers. For SAML customers, we have the IDL, and in most cases, we use a direct link to the full text. Our judgment here, and when we try to understand how this collection works, is relying on the work that we did by defining the collection types. And we had a webinar about this last year, and we also have an article published explaining each collection type. And we need to, we answer the question, we see the metadata, we talk to the provider, and then we understand what collection type we're gonna release. If it's gonna be a full text with portfolios that will work with link resolver, full text with portfolios that will work with linking record, because the metadata will not be able to support link resolver. If it's a database with linking record, if it's an ANI database, or if it's a hybrid full text or hybrid ANI. The hybrids, I'm not really explaining much more here because we had a special session about it, and we have the article published about the hybrid full text and hybrid ANI. I would say here shortly that the hybrids are actually a solution for mixed collections. When the collection is actually not suitable only for one type, but actually we have a mixed content in it, that we need a special solution. For example, the hybrid full text is when we have content with identifiers, but also content without identifiers in the same collection. So we don't want to make it all link resolver because we have the risk of some link will not work with not good identifiers. So for this reason, we have the hybrid full text when we will give each record and each content type the best linking or the most suitable linking for it. Also in the hybrid ANI, when we have ANI that actually does hold full text for some of the content, we will be able to create link to other portfolios or to other website when it doesn't have the full text, but we will be able to link to the ANI platform when they do have the full text on their side, for example, Eric. Quick links, as I said before, we are now adding them for any news source or any news source that we ingest when it's applicable. Okay, and here I say again, the quality is what guides us here. And if we're not sure about the quality of the quick links, so we will keep work till we get it to the level of quality that we are want to have for this for this kind of links. The quality assurance part is where we actually check our work and we make sure that everything is ready for release. We're doing it on some demo ingestion of the content. We can check record by record, and we're also doing some large demo ingestion to see on large amounts. And we need to understand that we talk about millions of records sometimes. Okay, so we need some tools to enable us to see the trends and how the data is working. and we're not able to really locate every single problem in one record out of millions, but we will need the tools to be able to see that this content in general is good to go and really passes all our tests. So we look from the metadata point of view to make sure that the quality is enough, it's accurate, and also the richness. Okay, we need to make sure that uh, we exhaust all what we can do, and we did what we can do with the content that we get. Okay, and for this also we're doing a peer review QA, and one analyst will check their friend work to have two eyes on each record and on each feed and content before we proceed to production. And of course, the functional QA, we're checking that the writes are able to work, the linking is working, and that we have currency set to make sure that the updates and removals will work automatically, as I said, with no need for manual intervention. So we have this blue circle of CDI XML that was started as some external resource, some record from externally to CDI, and was created, was loaded to CDI, and now we want to see how this CDI is actually finding its way into the UI of the customer. Okay, so we need here also we need to understand that we have two communities and two solutions of discovery layers, which is the Salmon and the Primo, and they work differently. In the Primo, we have the PNX, and the CDI XML actually needs to be converted into the PNX to be able, so it will be discoverable and seeable in the Primo solution. We have different, I mean, the PNX and the Salmon XML are different, okay? For example, just one example, the content types that are available on the PNX and Salmon XML are different. So this is one example, and we have many others. So this CDI XML that we create is actually converted and being finding its way into the two UIs, and it will be different. Might be different in of course, not in the main metadata elements. The title is the same, of course, but it might be different as each UI has its own features and its own flavors and the special things that actually serves their community needs. In Primo Search, we also have the local content, which actually is part of the Primo Search as well. So when we have blended search in Primo, so customers need to remember that they can see a PNX which is sourced in their catalog, a PNX which is sorted in the Alma CZ, and but also PNX and also PNX which sourced in the CDI XML together in the same search. I want to, sorry, the central discovery index update is the process that actually makes all these records accessible and visible to the customers. So we need to remember that we actually loading new content, which is nice, but what is really important is the ongoing updates. Okay, every day as we speak, our tools are fetching content, normalizing it, and ingesting it to CDI. Okay, data loading is ongoing. And this happens all the time around the clock. And new content and corrections and new versions of old records and removals are being sent to us by the providers and ingested into CDI, but they will become live in the next search update. The search update takes place twice a week, starts when the first one starts on Monday and ends by end of Tuesday, more or less. The second one from Thursday to Friday. And in each search update, what we do is actually we take the newest records that we have, the most new versions of the records, and of course, all new records to the new index to be visible by the customers. The sanity check is a point where we check before we go live with a new index. Every time we do some quality checks to make sure that the new index is good to go. We don't want to make a regression. And so for this, we have like small go, no go in every index that we go with. And alongside this process, we have the writes, which are updated within, as we know, within 48 to 70 hours. Um, we take your activations from the KB, we calculate the writes against the CDI records that we have now in the index, and then you will be able to see if you have changed something, you have activated something, deactivated, you will be able to see it in 48 to 72 hours. Okay, so thank you so much for joining to this session. I hope I made it more clear and open a little bit the curtain behind what we do here in Xlibris to maintain CDI. Please do not hesitate to reach in Salesforce case, in emails, in every other way that we have. If you need guidance, question, if you have something that is not working, we are here for you. And thank you all.